Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we look at all the latest comics and other media featuring the Transformers. In this episode, it's the end of an era as we have the review of the final Transformers comic from IDW Publishing, Shattered Glass 2, Issue 5. Today is Friday, December 16th, 2022, and this is episode 316 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that hopes Transformers video games will soon be reactivated. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
Apollo, aka Robo Apollo.
Hi, everyone.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hello. Let's talk Transformers.
As always, we start the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all so much for continuing to help us out and keep the show going. We really appreciate that. And if you'd like to become a Donatreon, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support, and that's where you can sign up. You get lots of perks. You get some merchandise, bonus shows, lots of good stuff coming to you as a Donatreon. And this week we are welcoming two Donatrons. So in the toy show we only had one, but as we were recording, we got another one. So gotta give a shout out. First of all, to
here, so it's lots of time.
Yes, through the that because we do these shows, and as you watch the show, that's when we're recording it. Nothing is pre-recorded.
We are live. Right? We exist in these little boxes.
Yeah.
So thank you for signing up to Septa Creeps. We gave you a big shout out in the toy show. Thank you again. Continue to hang out on the Discord. Let us know what you think we're doing, if you're enjoying it. And I believe you're enjoying Empire of Rust, the Transformers Live Play RPG podcast. So continue to listen to that. And now you get the bonus episodes. You get the bonus ones now that you are a Donatreon. And also, we want to welcome back one of our longtime Donatrons, Corey. On the Discord, he now goes by Small Town Popo 38. So he is a police officer, so that's why he picked that handle there. But Corey's been on the Discord and been a Donatron for a long time. He dropped off for a little while, but now he is back, and he is back at the Diecast Donatron level. So that's pretty good.
Ooh,
that's a hefty contribution. We really appreciate that, Corey. So thank you again for joining up, and welcome back. Now, both of you, since you are on the Donatrons and have access to the Patreon, you can get access to our bonus early episodes of our Transformers Live Play RPG podcast, Empire of Rust. This week we had released episode 91, and this is the early bonus version of episode 91, so it's only available on our Patreon page for our Donatrons, and that came out this Monday, December 12th. So you're going to have to wait just a couple more days to get the regular version of this episode, and that will be at transmissionspodcast.com/rust this coming Monday on December 19th. So look forward to that. And this is a big episode. You got some really exciting things happening, and I don't even want to say the title of the episode because it's kind of a giveaway as to what happens and what the surprise is. So just be listening to this latest episode and enjoy. And yeah, I just got to say it's exciting. If you haven't been listening to Empire of Rust, I wouldn't say this is the jumping on point, but this is a very pivotal episode. So
this is the episode Daryl shows up.
No, it's not that okay. It's not that quite that pivotal, but it is pretty big. It is pretty big. So All right. Now let's start off the show. We're going to change things up a bit before we get into our comic review this week. We're going to start off with a little bit of media news. So this week, or I guess last week, we had the trailer for the new Transformers game, Transformers Reactivate. That trailer was shown at the Game Awards last week. Was premiered there. We did a reaction video on that. You can check that out on our YouTube panel or our YouTube page. You can see that's the that's where you can find our reaction. We did a discussion on that. But Apollo was not there with us, unfortunately. So we wanted to give her a chance to give her impressions on Transformers Reactivate. So Apollo, what did you think?
Yeah, well, I watched the trailer over the weekend, and it seems to be a very dark Transformers game. Transformers, isn't normally like a very, it's not super dark. I know they try to do that with the Siege series. It looks like humans are teaming up with bots, perhaps, in this game, just from this trailer. It seems really interesting. It seems like an apocalypse survival type game. Like, just from what I saw from the trailer, it was more like a, like alien invasion type of thing, and it looks like they were trying to bring online a bot in that trailer. No, it seems interesting. Like, I definitely want to learn more about this game. It seems, it's interesting. It's, people are always asking for more, like, darker Transformers. Well, this is pretty dark, in regards to like how serious it is. This is like apocalypse level of things happening, not just, these Autobots, not just Autobots and Decepticons throwing punches at each other like in the G1 show. So it's really interesting. So let's I'd like to see more about it.
Yeah. It seems like anytime you want to signal the apocalypse, you gotta have the Statue of Liberty in ruins. That's always the go-to move. So there's an apocalypse, the Statue of Liberty got wrecked. So
and then suddenly you're going to see Optimus Primal riding a horse.
They blew it up.
Yeah.
You maniacs.
Yep.
So I mean, one thing, and I think we didn't catch this as we were doing the trailer reaction live, but I think Jeremy noticed it as he was editing that video. Written on the face of the Statue of Liberty is a little reference to the Transformers Marvel comic issue 5 that says, are all dead. So I mean, that was a cool little Easter egg there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think we saw that. But yeah, I guess I saw when I was doing the image, but then the building was it had Burger, Berger on it, and Daryl. I've been corrected on Twitter that he suggested it was Sean Berger from Megatron's Master Plan.
I didn't know it was Sean, but yes, that is who I was leaning towards. I didn't know it was Sean, and I didn't know it was from the show. I thought it might have been from the comic, but.
And someone on YouTube commented suggesting that maybe the aliens are the Swarm from G2, like a modified version of that. And I didn't even think about that. You have this race of unknown aliens. The Swarm would be a great kind of enemy to fight, that they're all basically identical, so it'd be easy to do in a video game.
Are they the same Swarm that appear in the comic, the IDW comic, just before Roberts takes over?
No, that Swarm was Insecticon Swarm. The Swarm in the G2 comic was kind of this big blob entity, like of darkness, corruption thing. So it was not like individual things. It was a giant kind of cloud of stuff.
I mean, maybe they could take that idea and modify it for alien invasion.
Well, I mean, so just to, and that leads us into our next topic, because we did actually get some leaked cutscenes for the game. And this actually, so I mentioned when we did the trailer reaction, I was kind of down on the initial trailer because it looked pretty generic. Like, it didn't really look very Transformers-y. Like, when I first saw the trailer, I didn't even know it was for a Transformers game until the very end of the trailer where it said Transformers. But these cutscenes have me a little bit more excited, because for one thing, in the cutscenes, I mean, you have basically, there's two cutscenes. One is narrated by Starscream, and it sounds very much like Steve Bloom is doing the Starscream voice. Then the other cutscene is narrated by Ratchet. And they're both, giving some backstory as to what's going on in the game. Ratchet gives a little bit more details about the swarm. Apparently, the swarm is composed of nanobots that can infect any technology. So that sounds interesting.
It lines up with Swarm origin.
Some Transformium going on, maybe.
And Starscream's cutscene indicates that the Autobots and Decepticons are working together to fight this new threat and working with humans. And you've got Shockwave, like, there as the scientist working to help, fight back this swarm. And then Starscream speculating maybe Shockwave's got a little double cross plan. Once you deal with the swarm threat, Shockwave realizes, hey, I can turn this into a weapon, turn it back on the Autobots. Then you've got another whole section of the game where maybe you got to fight the Decepticons at the end, or maybe you're playing as both Autobots and Decepticons in the game in different levels and different missions. So all that, they should have led with that in the trailer. That's what I'm saying. Is all this information that at least or hinted or teased that a little bit more in the trailer, because the trailer was not doing it for me. But these two cutscenes have me a little bit more excited. So.
One thing that worries me about the cutscenes, though, is the lack of animation. It's basically still image with the voices, and it's like the camera moving in on the characters. And I really hope that, the cutscene, for whatever it didn't, excite you, at least it was full animated, the characters were actually moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hope that this isn't the final version of these cutscenes, because the voiceover was great and the designs look really good. I really like the designs of all these characters, but I would like to see them move.
Yeah. I mean, it's still early. I mean, we don't know, like, we don't have a time frame for when this game is coming out. I mean, so since this was leaked, this might be just, basically essentially storyboarding for the game.
Hopefully.
And then they later do a full animation of these cutscenes. So we'll see. But so I mean, I'm a little bit. This has my attention now. Before the trailer was not really doing it for me, but this has my attention. So we'll keep an eye out for this game. This is a full PC and console release, so this is not like a mobile game or microtransaction heavy, kind of exploit fest. So hopefully this will be good. So, and it'll be, if it's PS5 and Xbox, hopefully it's really high quality graphics and all that good stuff. So we'll see. All right, and now we will move on to our comic review. So this is it. This is the end. We're turning off the lights, walking out the door. The last official IDW Publishing Transformers comic. This is it. Transformers Shattered Glass 2, issue number 5. Written by Danny Lore, art by Guido Guidi. Inks by Matt Froese, colors by John Paul Bove, letters by Jake M. Wood, editor Riley Farmer, and supervising editor David Marriott. All right, we've got 4 covers. Cover A is Soundwave confronting the ghost of Starscream. That's by Andrew Lee Griffith. Cover B is Soundwave striking a pose, and that's by L. Kershaw. Cover retailer incentive. This is Soundwave the Action Hero with Laserbeak and Ravage. This is by Mark Mayer, our toy designer friend. Mark, he got to do a Transformers cover for IDW before they turned the lights out. That's cool. And colors by Reggie Graham. So congratulations to Mark for getting your own cover out there.
Nice.
And that's very cool. I think he talked about that on the stream where they announced the Soundwave figure a few months ago. So that's very cool. And then the retailer incentive, of course, continues the Casey Collar art covers. And this is the one that's packed in with the toy. So this is, just a Soundwave, Laserbeak, and Ravage shattering the glass. And that's by Casey W. Collar and Joanna LaFuente on colors. So then that will round out the IDW Transformers comic series.
And looks like there's going to be a foil version that the previews didn't really come through well, but of that Hasbro Pulse cover.
Interesting. So I wonder where will that be produced though? How do you get that one? I guess we'll have to see. Okay, well, let's get into the story. I'll give a summary and then we'll give you our thoughts.
I'm not gonna say which ones we like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we should do that. Yes.
No, it's been a while since we've done a comic review.
We've forgotten everything.
The only part of the show I get to talk to during.
All right, Jeremy, why don't you start us off? Which cover did you like?
Well, I need to definitely. I mean, the Casey one is great, and I got to shout out Mark for everyone loves Mark, and glad he got one. But I think I'm going to go with the Andrew Griffith one. I like that, and I love the Ghost of Starscream, concept, and just this one's great.
Cool. Apollo, what about you? Which cover do you like here?
It was hard for me to pick, actually. I really liked all of them, but I am biased because Starscream is my favorite character. So I picked cover A, Andrew Griffith's cover. Like, I do think it relates to the story the most, too.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And Daryl, which cover are you picking?
Andrews is great. I like the one from the other person. I can't remember who that was, but
L. Kershaw.
Right. So I'm going with Mark's. I think Mark's is great. I'm basically picking it because Mark's just such an awesome dude. Mm-hmm. Sounds like he's checking something off his bucket list by being able to do this. So I'm just really happy for him. So yeah, it's a great picture too. It's not like it sucks or anything. He's quite the artist. So yeah, I'm really happy for him, and it looks great too. So
the graffiti tags, pretty talented there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's my pick.
I think I'm going to agree with Daryl and pick the Mark Mayer cover. This is a cool image. Yeah, I definitely appreciate the graffiti tags and the kind of stylized image. So it's definitely the more toyetic version of of Soundwave here. So of course, meant to highlight the Soundwave shattered glass toy that's coming out. So I just think it's really cool. And yeah, congratulations to Mark for getting that cover in. So very cool. Okay, now let's get into the summary of the story, and then we'll talk about it at the end. Ultra Magnus and the Wreckers are on the verge of triumph. They have successfully reactivated the Titan Metroplex with Starscream Spark and are about to use it to conquer and dominate Cybertron again. At Ground Zero, Megatron, with Soundwave at his side, is making a heroic stand against the evil Autobots. Megatron has been injured, and Soundwave tends to his wounds while his cassettes draw the fire of the Autobots. Megatron orders Soundwave to leave him and stop Ultra Magnus before he gains complete control of Metroplex. Soundwave agrees, but as his cassettes escort Megatron to safety while he takes on this mission. Before he goes to deal with Ultra Magnus, Soundwave sees a bot trapped under Metroplex's finger and decides to try and help that bot first. But before he can do that, he's attacked from behind by the evil wrecker Springer. But Springer wasted his element of surprise. Now that Soundwave can fight back, he fires a sonic blast that disrupts Springer and knocks him offline, but doesn't kill him. Soundwave, a bot of peace, tries as much as possible not to kill anyone, even the Autobots. Now Soundwave focuses on the bot still trapped under Metroplex's finger. He frees the bot only to discover it's the mercenary Autobot Slicer. Slicer doesn't thank Soundwave for the save and just raises his gun to fire at him. Soundwave avoids the shot and tries to reason with Slicer. Since Soundwave can hear other bots' thoughts, he knows Slicer is having second thoughts about his allegiance. Their exchange is interrupted as Springer regains consciousness and attacks Soundwave again. In an abrupt change of heart, Slicer helps Soundwave take Springer out, and Slicer shoots Springer in the face since he has no qualms about killing other bots. Soundwave is surprised but continues to press on his breakthrough. Soundwave realizes Slicer has been listening to his broadcast through Blaster's head, and maybe his words have gotten through to him, so he asks if Slicer will help him end Ultra Magnus's threat. Slicer is quiet for a moment, then agrees. Together, Soundwave and Slicer climb into an opening in Metroplex and deal with the Autobot wreckers guarding the entrance. As they go deeper into Metroplex, Soundwave asks Wheeljack, not Wheeljack, Slicer. I got it confused. Soundwave asks Slicer if there's a chance the procedure Ratchet is performing on Ultra Magnus would fail, so they won't have to face him. But Slicer says that's not likely, since if Ratchet's work put Ultra Magnus in danger, he'd be destroyed by a bunch of angry wreckers. And Slicer wouldn't let Ratchet take that risk. But then they'd find Ultra Magnus's disembodied leg, which seems to contradict this line of thought. And then they find the rest of Ultra Magnus, who is screaming on the floor in agony. And Soundwave realizes that the thought patterns coming from the bot is not Ultra Magnus at all. It's Optimus Prime. And behind them, they confront Ultra Magnus, now swapped into the body of Optimus Prime, leading the wreckers and still holding Jetfire prisoner. Slicer and Soundwave are surrounded, and Soundwave puts his hands up. Ultra Magnus staggers in pain as he is still adjusting to being in a new body, but he recovers quickly. He still thinks Slicer is working for him as a double agent and asks if he got good intel from Soundwave. Slicer plays along and agrees, then Magnus/Prime orders him to execute Soundwave. Since Soundwave can hear Slicer's thoughts, he knows he hasn't betrayed him and is just stalling for time. But before anyone can do anything, Starscream Spark shudders in agony again. As Starscream Spark resonates with Metroplexes, they cause pain back and forth. Soundwave knows he doesn't have much time left to save them. As Starscream's pain causes feedback on Metroplex, Metroplex's entire body rumbles and knocks everyone inside down. Soundwave takes this opening to fight back and surprise the wreckers. Soundwave and Slicer work together, but they are still significantly outnumbered by the wreckers. Rodimus takes this opportunity to settle the score and attacks Slicer while Soundwave faces Drift. Rodimus realizes he can hurt Slicer even more by blasting his partner Ratchet, which enrages Slicer. Meanwhile, Soundwave realizes he can't stop Drift without hurting him and blasts Drift in the chest, knocking him back. Soundwave grabs one of Drift's swords and flings it through the air right at Rodimus's head, impaling him. He then frees Jetfire and tells them they have to get to Starscream Spark before it's too late. Soundwave and Jetfire get to the control room where Starscream Spark is still connected to Metroplex. Jetfire works to disengage Starscream Spark and remove it safely. Finally, the task is done and Soundwave prepares to pull the final connection. When that happens, Metroplex will collapse and return to dormancy, probably killing everyone still trapped inside. So he tells Jetfire to be ready and fly Starscream Spark to safety. As Jetfire escapes with Starscream Spark, Metroplex begins to collapse. Magnus/Prime finds Soundwave and vows to destroy him for ruining his plans. Magnus/Prime hits Soundwave several times with his axe and has Soundwave pinned. But before he can strike the killing blow, Magnus/Prime is blasted from behind and falls out of the opening in Metroplex to the ground far below. Slicer, with a recovered Ratchet with him, fired the shot that saved Soundwave. Soundwave thinks he'll never get the chance to thank him, as he now focuses on escaping the falling Metroplex. Soundwave would be done for if not for Laserbeak coming back to check on him. Soundwave transforms to tape deck mode so Laserbeak can carry him away in his talons. Soundwave thanks him for the rescue as he is reunited with the other Decepticons. Soundwave reflects on all that's happened and how there has already been so much death and destruction. But even though the Autobots are not defeated, Soundwave is hopeful for the future of Cybertron, because for him, Cybertron is worth fighting for. And that is the end of everything. End of Shattered Glass, end of IDW, the end. The end. Period.
It's over. Finished.
It is. So I thought this was a good self-contained Soundwave issue. I thought that like the Shattered Glass Soundwave focusing on him, I thought it was a good end, a good story for him. The Shattered Glass series has been a little bit disjointed. I mean, the fact that it kept shifting to individual characters for, specifically for the toys, it had to focus on each character for their toy. That kind of made the individual issues kind of disjointed from each other. The way it drastically shifted focus. Like, we have no follow-up on Flame War from the last issue, because, we're not focusing on Flame War. We're focusing on Soundwave. But I still think this had a good. I mean, the story felt a little rushed because I didn't see any of this like about Ultra Magnus swapping bodies with Optimus Prime. I don't think any of that was really foreshadowed in the previous issues. I mean, you get a small line where it says like he did this basically so he could, use Optimus Prime's stature to take over the Autobots. I guess since the Autobots would just think it was still Optimus Prime and they'd follow him because he didn't think they'd follow Ultra Magnus after he took over. So, okay. I mean, I guess that's fine. It's kind of weird, but okay. And then I felt like at least I got the impression that Slicer and Ratchet were a couple in this issue. Like Slicer was really devoted to Ratchet, and I also didn't see that in previous issues. So okay, that's interesting. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a callback to Wheeljack and Ratchet being kind of buddy in the G1 cartoon, but this is not Wheeljack specifically. This is Slicer. He's never Wheeljack in Shattered Glass, but whatever. But I mean, I thought that's fine, but it's kind of weird that we don't get kind of any backstory of that in previous issues, and it's kind of like random. Like why does Slicer care so much about Ratchet? It's kind of like you're just kind of left with this implication came out of nowhere, but I mean, it's other than that, I mean, the main story was fine. I thought the battles were fine. It felt a little rushed. But overall, this Shattered Glass, like I thought the first Shattered Glass series was overall better than the second one. This one felt kind of very disjointed and rushed and didn't really fit together as well. I guess when whoever takes over the Transformers comics license in the future, if Hasbro decides to do a third run of Shattered Glass figures, maybe we'll get a continuation of the story because there'll be toy pack-ins for the comics, and so I imagine this if Hasbro decides to do future Shattered Glass toy releases, this storyline will continue because it's pretty much focused on the toys. I mean, that more so than the other Transformers comics have been. So I guess if you're a fan of Shattered Glass, you can look forward to that maybe. But I guess those are my thoughts. Oh, I guess the art, of course. I mean, Guido Guidi on the art, I think, did a great job here. And looked pretty. I mean, this didn't look like we mentioned in the last issue. The last issue by Dan Kana felt a little like the quality wasn't where it usually was, but this one feels like it was done pretty well and didn't have any issues. But yeah. So Apollo, what did you think? I mean, I know you kind of had to do a crash course because you had to read all the issues at once. I don't know if maybe since I read them kind of spread out, I didn't go back and read all the issues together. But did it feel disjointed for you, or did the story hang together better reading them all back to back?
Well, I remembered I'd read issue 1 on for the show like a few months ago, but like I reread it anyways because it'd been a while. I think it started out really strong, but yeah, it was super disjointed. Like I thought it was just really weird. The Flame War issue was really different from the other ones because it was talking about like something that had happened in the past, and like, you know, Starscream was like still, you know, he hadn't have given his spark yet into Metroplex. So it was like a whole flashback thing to before like the events of like the first series. So it just didn't seem to make sense to me. You know, I did like the last issue overall. Like, I thought there were some really fun things, like Soundwave holding a sword. That was really cool. I think there was a lot of love shown towards Soundwave in this issue, like for sure. Yeah, the Blaster issue, the one that was focused on him. Is he called Blaster in Shattered Glass? I forget.
Yes.
Sorry, it's like I know. Like I kept doing the same thing as you, Charles. Like with Slicer, I was like, oh, Wheeljack, and it's like, no, it's Slicer, even though he looks like Wheeljack. But like, the Blaster issue was okay, but it felt kind of disjointed too, because that was like him, like it was like he had his own like radio show and stuff. Like it was just really weird. Like you know, it just didn't seem to tie into the main story. It really felt like issue 1 when Ultra Magnus takes over, you know, Optimus Prime's leadership, and then this issue were like the main drivers of the main story, which was really weird for me just reading it. Like, you know, reading it all at once today. So, yeah, they were definitely more toy focused. I wasn't seeing that either with Ultra Magnus swapping bodies with Optimus Prime. I thought that was really weird because he seemed like in the first issue that people were following him. Like he had the Wreckers, you know, and a lot of people looked up to him and like, you know, because they thought he was like the one driving, like, you know, Optimus Prime's leadership and power. So it's like it didn't really make sense to me why he switched bodies. Like I thought that was really weird. You know, but no, and I liked the last page a lot too. I think there's a good message there. You know, like I like the art, you know, like Jetfire holding Starscream Spark, and just like, you know, I think it's Slicer and Ratchet together, and then you know, Soundwave like looking into the sunset or whatever it was. Like I thought that was really cool. So I thought that was a good way for them to end it. I do think though, like in regards to ending the IDW run with this story, I wish Last Bot Standing would have been released. I felt like that message would have been a better note to end the IDW run on, but like I don't know production schedules for comics, so it just worked out this way.
Yeah, I think we're all agreed that Last Bot Standing is a better endpoint for the IDW universe than the Shattered Glass series. But all right, Daryl, what did you think?
Not a huge fan. I've talked about this the last couple issues, though. The art was the best part of it, and honestly, I think it took a step down from Guido's previous work. I was looking through the pages again just as we were going through them, and I'm like, I think it's not Guido's best work. I think he's done a lot better. So. Yeah, I think but the art still looks good, but it's I don't know whether it was rushed or something like that. Maybe. I mean, here we are. It's the middle of December, and they've only got like 15 days left of having the license. So, well,
there was an inker, so maybe it was like he didn't have time because Guido didn't have time to do pencils and inks. They had to have an inker do it.
Maybe
the book. Maybe that changes it.
There was a lot of action in the story, which was nice. But I mean, and I've talked about it a bunch, but I don't particularly care about the Decepticons being the good guys. It doesn't make sense in my head. So yeah, I get the idea that Danny Lore was going for here with the with Optimus, being stuck in Ultra Magnus's armor, right? Like it fits, because it's the toy, right? But yeah, I admittedly I had checked out of this series at like issue 2, so I still buy them, so can't get on me for not buying them. I have them all, so and this one will be no different when it comes out. So I'll have them all, so you can't complain at me for not supporting them. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just I'm happy it's done. So yeah, but I'll say it like, I mean, I said it the last time we talked about this. I'm really kind of sad that this is the way it ended. I mean, Apollo kind of said the same thing, but this is not the best Transformer story. And I really wish they'd gone out on something better. I mean, if the last spot standing was the only other choice, then that's good. But that is the better choice. But there are so many others, and it pisses me off that the one shot that we are learning more and more about kind of as the weeks go on was canceled, because that just seems like it was just going to be just an epic story.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, Jeremy, we'll wrap it up with you. You get to shut the door on the IDW universe.
All right. I thought it was overall enjoyable. I like this take on Soundwave for the Shattered Glass stuff. Interesting, adding like the mind reading thing. I thought that was a nice trait for him to have. I mean, I think it's kind of, he's had it off and on, maybe in other stories, or maybe it was just, I don't know. It seemed a little bit familiar, but I like the way it was executed here. But I don't know. I have to agree with what a lot of what you guys said. It's not exceptional. I mean, it's a decent story for what it is, but yeah, it's not a good ending for everything. And I wish Last Spot Standing had been like they had swapped in their order. And we can't really even blame the toys for the delay, because this has been out for a while. Like, people that got the Soundwave figure have had this comic in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But the art I thought was pretty good. The inks definitely weren't nearly as heavy as the last issue, and I think that did help some. One thing as I was reading through it, again, I realized that there's this one panel, I don't know if it'll come through on my iPad here, but where Metroplex and Starscream are screaming, that is like the underbase, like an homage to the underbase Starscream. Thought that was pretty cool. But it was okay. There was a couple panels with Tailgate in it, and he got a name drop. So, yay for Tailgate.
He was a wrecker, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was, I don't know. Like, I guess it was okay. And I wish it had been much better. But I think there was a lot of time constraints. And like you said, with the inker being added, that's not something typically done these days. So the colors were great. JP did an amazing job. That was really good. I like the use of the green skies, and it just, the mood from the art and the colors was good. So now I guess we wait to see what happens next. If you Oh, I did. I was reminded on Discord. Someone was asking about the digital copies. When the license goes away, you want to make sure you get the digital copies, but I guess you're not going to be able to get backups of the more recent stuff. I'm hoping it doesn't disappear from your library, but cross your fingers. And if you have those older versions that you can't get backups of, get your backups.
Yeah, that's a good PSA. So yeah, everyone download those DRM free backups from Comixology if you have these Transformers comics.
I believe if you have it through Humble Bundle, that shouldn't be affected. But still, download your digital copies if you have them, just to be sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, well, that's our review of Transformers Shattered Glass 2, issue number 5. And that takes us to the end of this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Again, as we end the show, we give a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatrons. These are the people who continue to support us at our highest level on Patreon, and so we really appreciate that, and that's why we give them their due in every episode. So thank you once again to John Forex Levengood and Dematech82. You guys rock. And of course, before we go, I want to give just remind you of our Toy Hacks code. We've got a promo code at Toy Hacks. You can get 15% off your entire order at Toy Hacks. Go to toyhacks.com and use our code TM1234. Again, that code is TM1234. And you can get anything that Toy Hacks has for 15% off. So get some labels, get some stickers, get some accessories, anything you want with Toy Hacks, and check it out. All right. Now, before we go, of course, want to thank you again, Apollo, for hanging out with us this week. Any shout outs you want to give, and what do you want to show us? Tell everyone where they can find you online, where they can get access to your stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's the end of an era with IDW, so it's very bittersweet. So, thanks for having me on for this special episode. So you can find me on social media at Instagram and Twitter at RoboApollo. I'm also on, I forgot to mention this in the toy show, Mastodon too. So I'm on there. But I'm mostly active now in the Transmissions Discord server. You can go to transmissions.com/Discord to
Transmission
join.
Podcast.
Sorry, I forgot that. Like, it's do or be do. Go to transmissionspodcast.com/Discord to join the Transmissions Discord. That's where I'm mostly active now. It's a good group of people on that server who are very positive, very helpful, and knowledgeable and friendly. So if you want like a really nice environment to talk about Transformers in, I really highly recommend that you join the Discord.
Awesome. Yeah. You plug it better than we do. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a good place, especially with how social media has been the last, especially like Twitter, for example, like the last month and a half, it's been really refreshing being in the Discord.
Great. I'm really happy to hear that's a positive experience, so we want to keep it that way. Yeah. So yeah, everyone who's listening, come hang out.
And if anyone does have a problem, it's Daryl's technically the owner of the server. It's his fault. It's a great group of people in there, so it's awesome.
Yeah. Transmissions Discord isn't a place, it's a people.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching and listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.